All right. Everything looks good here. Guess we can get started. Hello to everyone. This is the first time I guess I'm talking to you. This is Andy Burwell. I run the YouTube channel here.
Hey everybody, this is Chris Dorset, and I run the Twitter.
And as you can tell from the title, we have a very special guest today. Please introduce yourself.
Sure. My name is Kay Saudek, and I was the in-house composer for Shea Scientific Films from 1971 to 1973.
Yeah, welcome. Thanks for getting into contact with us. How did that happen, by the way? You finding our channel and reaching out to us?
Through my niece, actually.
Mm-hmm.
She came across the UFO footage you had and noticed your check. What?
Oh, well, that UFO video. We've had so many people theorizing about it, convinced it means something. Like, I get why, but it's been some of the weirdest stuff I've ever read, and I'm usually into that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but you know what? At least we have viewers to theorize about all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we both tease some people here and there of how their ideas, but we really do appreciate anyone who's been with us on this. Subscribers, followers, even people who just randomly find us and watch a single video or whatever. We'd be doing this even with no followers, because it's media preservation. It's important, but having people along for the ride is nice. So thank you for anyone and everyone who's joined us on this.
Yeah, we really do appreciate it.
Anyway, we got off on that tangent. I'm so sorry. How rude of us.
Oh, I've done and seen worse, don't worry.
Okay. Okay, so your niece found this UFO video.
Yeah, saw your channel name and asked me about it, and here we are.
Kind of a blast from the past, huh?
Oh, absolutely. It was, it's quite a thing to see all this again.
Yeah, I can imagine. And I'm glad she said something. Chris and I have been working on this project since last July, and, having someone to talk to who was actually there, I mean, that's huge.
Well, I'm happy to do it.
Okay, so before we go into detail about this studio, what's your story, Kay? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, well, there's not too much to tell. I'm from Marquette originally. I've always been sort of musically inclined. I grew up playing piano. I was on the sideline in marching band. So no big surprise. I ended up going into that in college. I graduated from U of M in 1971 as a music major.
Hey, U of M again.
Yeah, I saw that you found that John went there too. I think that might have helped me out in terms of getting hired. But yeah, I had just graduated and was looking for either full-time work or something to tide me over till then. There was an ad in some newspaper I saw. I called the number, ended up talking to John himself, and I got hired right then. He mailed me the contract that same day.
That quick?
Yeah, that quick.
Kay, you composed stuff as part of your major, right?
Yeah.
So in this interview, did you have to, play any of your music over the phone? Hold the receiver up to a record player or something?
Yes, actually. John wanted to hear a few samples. The school band performed and recorded our pieces. I think he also liked that I was into Tangerine Dream and Kraftwerk and all those kind of bands. He wanted something kind of fresh in terms of the music.
My dad used to listen to Tangerine Dream.
Oh?
Yeah, I remember a lot of Stratosphere.
it's a good one. I liked a lot of their creepier stuff, I guess you could say. Sight was my favorite, and Alpha Centauri, Phaedra. Yeah, good stuff.
So all this was in...
The hiring, summer of 1971. All of us were hired around that time, and we had some individual briefings and stuff like that throughout the fall. One of the things they did with me, and I think with at least some of the others, was a really thorough background check.
Oh?
Yeah, they were particularly concerned if I was in the Weatherman or not.
Oh yeah, they were around U of M, weren't they?
Started there, yeah. I wasn't, of course, I wasn't into all that. But they had to check.
I think we might be getting a little bit ahead of things.
Oh, sorry.
I don't know, it's fine. We'll circle back around to that for sure. I think we both kind of have an idea where that's going.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, Kay, so you were hired in 1971, had some orientation, interviews, all of that. So what next?
Well, the whole thing didn't start until the first of the year.
1972.
Yeah. It started on January 1st, 1972. John invited the whole group to his place in Detroit for New Year's, and then we caravanned up the next day.
So who was in the group? We've seen names in the credits, of course.
There was John and Janet. They were together, and basically the head of all things, at least locally. That's John Shea and Janet Telashman. Then me and Bob and Eloise Charmas. They actually got married during their time up there. And Lee McGraney, Nora Barracott, Gary Turnan, and Hank Slenheimer.
And then Stephen Bowerbach did your voiceovers.
I did our voiceovers, yeah. Yeah, he wasn't on site. He was in New York, I want to say, Manhattan.
So you filmed and edited and composed everything at the studio and then sent it out for the final narration.
Exactly.
Okay, so now I guess we can circle back around to why you had some background checks, Kay. So what was the purpose of the studio?
We were a Department of Education program, actually.
I knew it.
Yeah. Well, at the time it was called the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare, but it was the same thing. So for us, the idea was to see how a small studio could handle a pretty intense schedule. It was a way to see how cost-effective it would be to hire independent studios for that kind of work as opposed to government-run studios.
Like a proof of concept thing.
Yeah. The idea was that if we'd been sustainable, if we'd been able to keep a consistent pace for a few years, then other studios similar to ours would have been set up across the country, or else grants would be given to existing studios of around the same size as us. The end goal was a network of small subcontracted studios all over the U.S.
Wow.
And it wouldn't be just science films, it would have been all school topics for all grade levels. Math, history, econ, all of it. It may have been single studios focusing on a specific area like we were, or lots of different topics at each studio. I don't remember how exactly it would have broken down, but something along those lines.
And Just Education Films?
Yeah, Just Education Films. We wouldn't have been, filming rocket launches or making Army training films or anything like that. No, Just Education Films.
So were you guys government employees at that time, or?
We were not, even though we were part of a government project. We officially just worked for Shea Scientific Films, and then the studio was contracted just like any other studio under the full plan would have been. Aside from John and Janet, none of us had any kind of government experience except for Hank, and that was only because he was in the Air Force.
So you said that you all carpool up to the studio.
Yeah.
So what was that like, the actual building, the site?
We were way up in Copper Country, in an old abandoned mine.
Whoa.
Yeah, the cliff mine up near Mohawk. Well, technically we were at the side of the old town, Clifton, but the mine itself was just across the road.
For anyone listening who might not know, Copper Country is in the Upper Peninsula.
Yeah, almost at the very tip top. Even further north than me.
And definitely not in Lansing.
Oh, no, we weren't there at all.
Okay, finally that's cleared out.
That's quite a ride from Detroit. That's opposite end of the state, basically.
Oh, you got that right. Oh, I got stories from that trip. But yeah, cheap land, I guess. I believe John himself owned it. His dad was in mining back in Pennsylvania. But regardless, inexpensive, lots of room, decent amount of privacy. The main studio building was some old, I'm not even sure what it was exactly, warehouse or something, some kind of mining building. It was all refurbished, but the actual studios themselves were underground.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. The ground floor was for reception and receiving deliveries, but all the work areas were in some of the converted tunnels. My studio was down there, filming and editing studios, offices, bathrooms, of course.
Of course.
Small break room, utility closets, and then a storage level right below that. I mean, all it was a hallway with rooms on either side, but yeah, all underground. It looked like any normal office building, but all underground.
Was there a sauna?
Oh, don't you get smart with me. No, there was not a sauna. But in all seriousness, it did stay pretty nice down there all year round.
Did they say why it was underground? Like, was that really cheaper or something?
I never really thought about that, actually. I guess it would have to be if they did it that way. I mean, they already used one building. Might as well use the tunnels for something if you got them.
Was it very deep?
20, 25 feet maybe. Not too bad. Oh, another thing. We mostly lived on site there. We had some of those portables, you know?
Like at schools?
Yeah, so there was the main road, and we were on the right if you're heading north. The main building and parking were in a clearing a little bit off the road, and then there was another clearing just past that on the road, and that's where the portables were. 4 of them, so we doubled up. John and Janet had one, Bob and Eloise had one, Hank and Lee, and then me and Nora. Gary was the odd one out, so he had to stay in Mohawk. I forget if it was a hotel or an apartment. It was paid for by the project. But he still had to make a short drive up every day.
Oh, poor Gary.
Yeah, poor Gary. That kind of ended up working out, though. She had to leave near the end of the first year, some sort of family issue. So we didn't have to worry about someone having a portable all to themselves or something.
So good group?
Oh, yeah. I got along with everyone. Everyone else seemed to get along with everyone else. No real drama to talk about there.
You there, Kay?
I'm debating on how much I want to say.
When I have to say it.
I mean, if you want.
Nah, never mind.
Okay, back to topic then. So what was a typical day like? We know that you guys did 37 films just in 1972, so that sounds like it would be really hectic.
You would be right. it worked out that with weekends and holidays, we were turning out a film basically every 6 or 7 days.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And as for a typical day, basically a 9 to 5. Since we were on site, we could sleep in a bit, get up, have breakfast either in the portable or in the break room, and then go underground for 8 hours, come back up when work's done. On Mondays, we'd have weekly progress meetings. We'd screen the newest film. We had regular weekends and holidays. Not everyone can function in that kind of environment, but we all seem to. I know I did. John picked us all pretty well, I think. Being able to go into a studio and just be alone in your creativity for a whole day at a time, where you're also working with others to make a thing, there's just nothing like it. I felt like the luckiest girl in the world back then.
What did you have in your studio?
So, let's see. Instrument-wise, I had a Moog System 55, a Mini Moog, an ARP 2600, a theremin, a key bass, an omnioline, an upright piano, a drum set, probably other stuff I'm forgetting, general mixing equipment, multi-track recorder, guitar effect pedals, all kinds of microphones, lots of stuff. It was a packed studio.
So what about John himself? What was he like? He's been kind of a real hard puzzle piece to fit.
Yeah, I've barely been able to find anything.
He's a little odd, but a good kind of odd. He had some strange habits, like recording all his phone calls, all his conversations. He definitely recorded all of our weekly progress meetings. He and Janet were both a little odd, actually. Nice people, not unfriendly, but they weren't as close to the rest of us. John was away a lot due to his other work, so Janet was basically our boss the whole time. He'd try to be there for our meetings and on birthdays and holidays and stuff, but generally kind of kept to himself.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me, based on what I've read.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, I didn't get to know him too well, but he was alright from what I did know. One thing that was nice about having him as a boss was that he was able to pull all the strings and get us access to supplies and equipment before they officially released.
Oh?
Yeah, like that System 55 I mentioned. We had that about a year early. To my knowledge, I was the very first person to be using one, at least commercially. We were the first studio to use Super 8 sound film, things like that.
Interesting. So there was a comment on the... Go ahead.
So you were basically right at the college at the time, right?
Yeah.
So was everyone else in that same age range?
More or less. Lee and Charmouths were 25, 26 when we first started. Nora and Gary and I were all recent grads. Hank was at least 30. John and Janet were mid to late 30s.
The reason I ask is because I was thinking about the area. Mohawk's not exactly a big city, I'm guessing.
No, not even close.
So it's this small town, and then a group of young people start living in a compound, basically, a little ways outside of town. So what did they think of the whole thing? Did they think you were a cult? Did they kind of know what was going on?
Oh, some of them probably did. I'd be surprised if no one there thought we were some weird sex or drug thing. We weren't, to be clear.
Oh, I'm not accusing or anything. I was just wondering what the environment outside the studio was.
Yeah, kind of the same as inside. Calm. There were never any incidents with the locals. We'd have people drive by and look, especially early on, but it always just seemed out of curiosity. We had an MP posted at the studio turn off as security, and nothing ever happened. I didn't go into town a whole lot, but when I did, I always felt not welcomed necessarily, but safe.
That's good. What were you going to say, Andy?
Well, there was a comment on the UFO video. Yeah, I know. But someone had a theory. Let me make sure I'm getting the name right. Time Eater is their name. So, Time Eater had a theory that the craft in that video might have been one of John's patents. So, Kay, did you know anything about him working with NASA or the Air Force or something like that?
He did work with NASA, yes. What specifically that was, I don't know. We knew about his patent work, but John, again, didn't talk a lot about that kind of stuff. I agree with you that whatever's in that video is some kind of plane, but as to John designing it or some kind of precursor to it, I just don't know. It would not surprise me, but I don't know.
And you said that the computer room film was probably a NASA thing too.
As far as I know, it looks like it to me.
Well then, I guess the only thing I have left is to ask about...
Well, before we go on, I think it's time I ask something of you two.
Okay, yeah. You mentioned that earlier. Yeah, we can do that now.
Yeah, let's rip that Band-Aid off.
So, how exactly did you two find all these tapes? I read your Twitter thread, Chris, but I want to hear it firsthand now, with all the details.
Okay, so one of the ways I make extra money is by picking. Looking through abandoned whatever for things to sell. Storage units, estate sales, anything. It's something that sends me all over the place, so I've gotten to know a lot of people in various occupations. One of them works at a bank that owns the apartment building we found the tapes in. I'm just going to call him D. He doesn't know we're talking about him, and he seems kind of annoyed by this whole thing whenever I do talk to him about it. I gotta call him something.
Right.
So Andy and I are having lunch one day, and D texts me about this apartment. The tenant skipped town or something. There's been no payments. There's no family or friends that anyone can get in touch with to find out what's going on. And it's almost the end of the month, so the apartment is scheduled to get repossessed. D says, "Do you want to drop by and have a look, see what's there? I'll be here for an hour." I say, "Sure." I was driving that day, so Andy tagged along. D was annoyed by that, of course. But we get there, and there's nothing, pretty much. There's no furniture, there's no appliances, there's no food, even. There's the tape box sitting in a corner, and the UFO board in the bedroom. I had no use for any tapes. Andy said he could probably convert them and see what they were, so he took them. We let Dee know that if anyone were to come by looking for the tapes, to let them know what was going on, and we'd get things sorted out somehow. And that was that.
So, whose apartment was it?
Just tell her.
Lee McGrady.
Really? That's concerning.
If it helps, we do think that Lee is probably safe, at least.
Probably.
So what Dee actually told us that day was that there was no family that they could contact. But while I was trying to track down the UFO board, one of the things Dee told me was that Lee's son came by a few days after we were there. Dee was in the final process of making sure the apartment was all cleaned up. The son, Mike, comes in. They get to talking. Dee explains the situation. He tells Mike about us, that we took the tapes and are probably going to get the board as well. Mike essentially says that the family moved Lee out to help him get out of this UFO craze or whatever that he had. From the sound of it, they deliberately let the whole apartment thing lapse, just to sweep it under the rug, to get away from it. So they've known about us for months now.
It's just, you're talking about an old friend of mine. You're hearing all this, even just about him having a kid. This is all new to me. It's a little much. And then hearing that you basically just took his stuff.
I think we just got caught up in the novelty, I guess, of the whole thing. I definitely did.
Yeah. And I mean, we checked. Legally, we're in the right. Abandoned property laws and all. And the family seems okay with it. But yeah, that's something that's been at the back of our minds this whole time.
Kay, not to put you on the spot here, but if you want us to stop this, we will. I mean, immediately. You just have to say the word.
Yeah. Right here, right now.
However important this might be, and however enjoyable working on this whole mystery has been, it's not worth it if someone directly involved is uncomfortable with it. Even if Lee and his folks don't care, I mean, you're part of this too.
Well, I'd be lying if I said I was entirely comfortable with this. But I'd also be lying if I said I didn't have an interest in this whole thing too. You know, like we talked about, Andy.
Right.
So, I guess that can lead into answering what happened.
So, what did happen?
It was a fire. I don't know if they ever figured out what it was exactly, but old mines like that, there's methane, there's natural gas sometimes, there's who knows what kind of leftovers and waste materials, and sometimes they just go up. And that's what happened here. It was June 20th, 1973. It was almost lunchtime. I was in the studio like normal, and all of a sudden Lee barges in, grabs me by the wrist, and drags me all the way up the emergency stairs and outside. I barely registered what was happening. It was so fast. And then almost as soon as I'm outside, I get shoved in the back of an ambulance. All that was maybe 30 seconds.
Did everyone get out okay?
They did, thankfully.
Good.
Things happened so fast that for a while I just didn't know. Even at the hospital, they kept everyone separate. They were worried about any potential contamination that might have happened, to make sure we hadn't inhaled any kind of dust or anything like that, and to make sure we didn't corroborate our stories for the investigation. You know, not that we were suspects, of course, but you don't want story contamination to happen either. You want everyone's story to be their story.
Right.
But no one even got hurt, thankfully. That was the last time we were together. Bob and Eloise and Hank had all been topside, so they got to leave a little while before I did, and once you lose everything, all that time spent in the hospital, that's enough time to start moving on to something else. I was about the same. The economy was not the best at the time, so I had to take what I could get in terms of jobs. I went west. I ended up in Phoenix, and I sort of floated around recording studios in the region as a sound engineer. Did that for 40 years.
Did you ever get back to composing?
No, I never did. If you had asked me at the time, I don't think I would have said it, but I think I ended up where I did because I wanted to get away from the whole thing. It was too much. Everything just gone like that. Without any spares or anything.
You're late.
But at the same time, and it took me a while to realize this, but I had, in effect, also gotten away from what I originally wanted to do. I liked my new job just fine, but it's really easy to start going through what ifs. I kept in some contact with the Charmonths and with Nora and Lee, but we all had gone to the wind, really. The others, I don't know. With John, I heard rumors of cancer, of shipwreck, going missing in general. That was in the mid-'80s sometime. Point is, we were apart. We were all friends, but we'd only known each other for a year and a half, and things just get replaced. I guess we all wanted to put it behind us, even if the good stuff went with it.
Now here we are bringing it back up.
There's no. It's been nice talking about it now, remembering those good parts.
Well, we've been going almost an hour. I don't think I have anything else. Chris?
Nothing from me.
That case, Kay, thank you so much for your time and for talking to us about all this. It's been really helpful to get to know about this studio, and it was nice to talk to you and get to know you a little bit.
Oh, of course. It's been fun. I know I got a little sharp with you guys back there, but I think your hearts are in the right place here, ultimately. I definitely appreciate you recovering and restoring our work.
You mentioning that again. I've been thinking, and you don't have to decide right now, of course, but if we're able to get a good number of your tracks rebuilt, would you be opposed to them getting an official release, maybe?
Could you do that?
Chris would know more about it, I think, but yeah, getting them onto Spotify, onto anywhere probably. Lots of people do. Can't be too difficult.
Yeah. I mean, you'd be in total control of it, Kay, if that's what you decide. But we'd be more than happy to help you get that set up.
Well, I'd have been happy just getting the files back, but something like that, I'll sleep on it, definitely.
Yeah, it'll be a ways off, even in the best case, but just be thinking about it.
I will.
All right. Kate, it's been a pleasure. I hope we get to talk to you again sometime. And we'll keep you updated on this music thing. In the meantime, have a good rest of your weekend.
Bye, Kay.
Bye, you two. It's been fun.